He's just a good old boy who loves burning rubber and driving fast.
Well, if you have followed along, you know where I'm at.
3:30 a.m. wake-up call. I am not a morning person, but we're off and running. We are headed to Charlotte, more specifically Mooresville. Headed to the race shop. Go see Rick, Robbie, Stacy, Jimmo, Nikki, Jesse, on and on and on. Gonna go see everybody. I'm excited about it. Gonna go check out what we got going. Can't wait to show you guys. Let's go to Charlotte. All right, pretty obvious. I have made my way to the race shop. And what we're going to do right now, I'm going to call this the anatomy of a Top Fuel Dragster. Right behind me here, or right behind you actually, is a brand spanking new, never down the racetrack, DSR chassis Top Fuel car. Jesse, you've been busy, brother.
A little bit.
You've been busy. So we've got brand new. This thing has not been down the racetrack, and guess what? There's the one that has right there.
That's all reliable right there. We put that upstairs because we know what it does.
Yep. While it looks naked, it actually is not.
Nope.
So before we started on this new car, how long would it take you to make that run? I mean, if the team, you know, if we needed it.
Team probably 30 minutes.
So that car right there will go in the trailer pretty much that way, right?
Yes. The only thing that I will take off this race car is the computer.
Yep.
Basically, we'll just take that off. We'll leave all the wiring on it, command module, all the wiring on it, airlines, Canon, all this. We'll put up in the trailer. We'll clean it up. Take the computer off. We'll put it on that one because it doesn't really need a computer.
Right.
It's basically just these
Yep.
cables and comes off. Then put that one pretty much together. The kids were helping me wire it up.
Yep.
So
Let's start at the front because we are going to tell everybody about a Top Fuel car.
can't do that.
I'm gonna let you go and I'll jump in as needed here, or whatever I think of. You know, I'm always thinking of something silly.
So basically,
So right here, we're gonna start at the tip.
yep.
That is what?
It's the front wing adjustment. We can change the angle of the front wing. Different pucks, that's why it's slotted. And the front wing, it's bolted. So DSR makes these pucks. If you want to change the front angle of the wing, we can do that. Same thing with adding weight in here too.
Oh yeah, the weight thing is obviously a popular deal on our channel. So
Yep. So
weight slides in there, correct?
yep. So basically over here, this tow hook, that thing comes out with 2 bolts. That thing slides out, and basically there's threaded pieces, and it comes all the way back to the tube. And we can add weight, take weight off, depending on track conditions.
Yep. So that's how they tow the car, and this tube here has got solid pieces of weight in it.
Yep.
How much weight can we add in there if we wanted to?
We can do 25 pounds.
25 pounds.
Yep. And this is the front wing adjustment. So that is control. That's by pucks. That's a 10. Basically, we can raise and lower it, and it's trapped by the front. That's how those work.
And so they're little. Okay, I see they got little
Yep. Little dimples.
little dimples. Yep. So that's how you change that. So I'm gonna hop in on this, and we're going to continue down this car. So the front wing, really and truly, we make adjustments on that if it's dancing the front end. That's
About the
kinda-
only time we really move the front end is if the driver's not having front wheel contact.
Yeah. Yep. And sometimes we might change it because of Denver too.
Yeah.
More
yeah.
downforce up there.
We missed Denver.
I know.
Our last time
was-
there was pretty good.
Pretty good. Pretty good to us.
So moving on back, that's the steering rack. So what can you tell us other than that's a tiny little guy?
Yep.
So that comes from ProWorks, right?
ProWorks, yep. The stiletto is the steering rack. We run 12-to-1. They make all sorts of it.
Yeah.
10
So
to 1.
12-to-1 means what?
That it's not the fastest, but it's the second fastest. So you have
Yep.
the fastest, faster, slower, and slowest.
So how much I move the wheel?
Yep.
Yep.
How
The
much
ratio.
input Clay puts in versus it.
I'm gonna hop in on that right quick too. I'm an oddball. I'm like, I guess because I've done it for so long, that's the steering rack that I learned with. And I have driven some other people's cars and I move them around way too much because that's what I drive with.
You're going to tell the story?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a story. So I didn't know what steering box Clay ran. And on his very old one, the numbers are gone from it. So I kind of just went with the cuff on it. And me being new, I sent it to Stiletto and ProWorks. Oh, you got a 12-to-1. Well, I ordered the wrong one and I put it on the race car. And car's hauling the mail. And Clay, he kept on input. Finally, we lifted. We were probably going to go number 1. It was during qualifying. Clay's like, I tried steering, it won't come back. Well, I put a new steering box on it. Well, what did you put on it? Well, I ordered a 15-to-1, and he's 12-to-1, so it's slower, right?
Yep.
And he's putting his input in, and it's nothing's coming to
Yeah.
it.
My
so.
normal amount was not working.
Yeah, so we put the old one back on, order another one from ProWorks, and now we have 2-1. I'm going to order probably a third one and have a spare.
Yep. Yeah. ProWorks are the people for those little bitty guys right there, which are pretty cool. They're pretty durable, actually.
Oh, these things last a lifetime.
Yeah, they're pretty durable.
Yep.
So I want you to talk about one other thing, because a lot of people, it might be a little hard to tell, but you can see this front wheel is actually in front of that front wheel. What's that all about?
It's basically offset. We offset it 200 thousandths just because of the steering ratio on it, because you want it everything angled, because when he turns to go off, everything has to be offset.
And not only that, it cheats the clocks, actually.
It does. one wheel is further than the other.
Yep. And that side wheel is going to come off the ground. Engine torque, every car, that one's coming up. This one will stay in the beams that way.
Yep.
And so you're kind of cheating it a little bit.
Yep. When the car lifts, it stays in the beam still.
Yep. Fuel tank. So that's my favorite fuel tank. I'm gonna walk over here right quick. I want y'all to see this thing. See it all been cut up and it's beat up and it's nasty. That old ratty fuel tank won the U.S. Nationals.
That's right. That's old reliable right there. That car is old reliable.
So this is a new fuel tank. It holds, according to what I wrote on here, 15 gallons. I think that one holds 16.
Yeah, the whole system holds, even the whole fuel line holds about 17.5 gallons. The whole system does. So.
And there is a lot of stuff going on in there. Obviously, if I take the top off, you really can't see much down in there.
Just vents.
Vents, baffling. There's a lot going on. That patch I showed y'all cut in there, we had to cut that out to fix a trap door that's in there.
Yeah.
And people always get fascinated with this. Tell us about this silver thing right here.
So this is the main fuel line going to the fuel manifold and going to the fuel pump. It's 2¼ inch diameter fuel line.
That's a big old fuel line.
Yeah, picture that. So that's standard on top fuel in funny car.
Yep. So I'm gonna show y'all. It just runs right down the middle of the chassis. We'll get into this stuff. Makes a bend right there where Jesse's pointing. Comes on back. And we're going to talk about this right quick because this is a TV thing. They tell you we have 2 fuel pumps. That's one fuel pump with 2 sections actually.
Yep. Yeah,
And
just one big old fuel pump.
One big fuel pump. And a lot of people think that we turn one pump on for the burnout and then the other for the run. Not true.
So what Clay's doing, this is his fuel, and it's controlled basically like that.
Yep.
During the burnout, he's probably like that. Backs up from the burnout, pre-stages the car, stages it, and
All the pump.
Yep.
All the pump. We're going to walk back up to the front because there's some other stuff on these chassis that a lot of people won't see. I don't remember the size fuel. I mean, the size
059.
059. So that rule changed a couple years ago.
Yep, 2 years ago it changed from 46 to 059.
Yep. So you can see that there's not a lot here, to be honest with you. These cars work from Boeing, essentially, going down the racetrack.
Yeah, these cars are indestructible. We added X bracings, you know, as the cars evolve, you know, we have to evolve the chassis. So add bracing, X bracing here, bracing here, you roll down here. I mean, you got to have the chassis to flex for it to go. It gets too stiff, that's when it's, you know, causes failures.
Yep. So from the driver's seat, this X bracing that Jesse's talking about wasn't always in these cars, and driving them was like pushing a wet noodle.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You would see a lot of freaking sashaying going down the racetrack with these things. That X bracing, from a driver's standpoint, made a big difference.
Oh yeah.
The cars go straighter now.
Yeah, and back in the day, it used to be a zigzag where you just ran one bar. Obviously, the chassis flex even more, so we want to tighten it up a little bit. So.
And they do move, just in case you're wondering. That's slip tubed right here, so this tube can slide through there, so it's not rigid. And then heim joints here, so it doesn't prevent the car from bowing.
Yep, exactly.
So we've really got through the simple part of the car. Now we're getting into the more complicated part.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what, y'all? We're going to move to the other car because there's still a few things that Jesse's got to get finished. It's the same, even though it's last year's car, it's the same, but we're gonna move over to Old Faithful here and show you, and Jesse's going to explain what all's going on here. What do you call this tray? I mean, it's just a tray, but
yeah, clutch management.
Clutch management tray.
This is pretty much where all the magic happens with the clutch. Basically, you have your clutch flow controller, your accumulator, 310 valves. These are safety valves for the parachutes, fuel, and parachutes. Flow controller, clutch flow controller, right? So as the cars, and Jimmo and Nikki, they're phenomenal when it comes to making decisions of when it comes to the clutch. So these are controlled by air solenoids right here, and you can control it by the command module. So if you want number one to open sooner or later, Jimmo will make decisions on track conditions or, you know, previous runs or whatever it is. And basically it's a micrometer, so inside there's a needle. You can screw that thing down to allow more or less fluid. The clutch is controlled by like water. That's what we use. It's basically
like water.
Suspension fluid.
Yep.
Basically that's how it's the whole clutch is controlled by. Some people use water to soluble it, but as the car's going down the track, these things open and close depending on where Jimmo sets them, and that's allowing more or less fluid to come from the accumulator, go through the flows, go to the line. Down here, pressure transducer, 1,000-pound bell, that line's going directly to the cannon back here. So as the car's going down the track, that cannon, as soon as Clay hits the throttle, at a certain time that cannon starts moving, applying all the clutch levers.
So before we make a run, this piece here will be like approximately, oh, you got air hooked up to it. We can show you.
So before we make a run, we want to charge the cannon.
There you go.
So we charge the cannon, and the reason why we charge it, at the hit of the throttle, if that thing's not charged all the way, it'll see primary levers and it'll see lockup levers. Well, you'll smoke the tires right at the hit of the throttle, as what happened in Pomona. That cannon, it needs to be all charged so it doesn't see the levers. Now when Jimmo makes the tuning decisions of where he wants that thing to start moving, that thing will slowly start coming in, and that thing will be pushed in. All the levers start applying. That's plate load, plate load, plate load, plate load.
So I want y'all to think about it like this. In your manual shift car, there's so many people that don't know how to drive one anymore, but that cannon is moving as if I was taking my foot off the clutch, slowly or fastly, and Jimmo is the one that determines whether it moves quickly or slowly. And that is how that works, to be honest with you. Jesse is grabbing a battery and we'll actually show you exactly what it does. So the driver is not controlling that. That is being done by the crew chief. I take my foot off the pedal before I ever hit the gas.
So
So basically we're doing a simulation with Clay. So basically switches are on, the car's running, and as Clay hits the throttle at a certain time, that thing's gonna start moving. Now the switches are going off. Now when Clay hits the throttle,
boom.
and what's activating, it's all these little timers that's opening and closing.
Yep.
Safety valves, that's
Let's
all
do
this.
that again, and let's let them hear all that. I don't know if you could hear that from back there. So essentially, think that I just hit the throttle, and this is what's happening that you can't hear. That's crazy.
Yep.
That's going on while the car's running. You saw the cannon backing up. Again, think about the driver slowly taking his foot off the clutch pedal, but we're not. That's all being done by this, and y'all heard all these little things going off.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep.
That's the magic, though.
It's a science, and I'm slowly learning. Hopefully one day.
You know, that's another thing. And this is zero knock on anybody that does the clutch, but on TV, they'll tell you the clutch man is so vitally important. And I say all the time, they are.
Oh yeah.
But the crew chief is making the calls.
Yeah, the clutch guy sets it all up. You trust your clutch guy. There's so many measurements and it
To the
has
thousandth.
and it has to be flat. If it's not flat, you know, that's a big consideration of the tune-up. Actually, if something's wrong in the clutch, car doesn't go down the track, or you know, you lose, or all variables, right? But Jimmo and Nikki, when they make a decision, a lot of it's right here of, man, I got to run a 65 or a 66 or a 72, whatever it happens. And that's that fine line of, oh, I put too much clutch in it, or not enough,
Right.
win or lose.
Yep. And it's not only the speed of that cannon that we just showed y'all, but it's the weight on the levers. What levers are in it? The changes are basically infinite. Jesse's been the clutch guy, and
Long time.
it's so many different things you can do. I mean, the crew chiefs on these things are freaking geniuses.
Oh yeah. With the clutch, you can, you know, screw a stop in, take it out. These cars are about plate load. Plate load. You make too much plate load, you can make not enough, you can make just amount. It's just so many things you can do. With the stop is you can screw the stop in to allow less plate load, or back it off to make more plate load.
Basically stopping a lever.
Yep. Or you can add weight or take weight off. More weight, lever flings up faster, less weight. It's all basically off all the geometry of the arm. Same thing with primary. Primary weight is the first 60 feet and on, right? You can take weight off or put more weight on. You get the 60 foot going, get the car accelerating, then you start, the lockup start applying. When that cannon starts moving back, levers start applying more and more, the faster that thing goes. And that's a fine line of how fast
Versus
how slow.
smoke the tires.
Yep, exactly.
We're kind of getting sidetracked. We're talking about the anatomy of a top fuel car. Now we're on the clutch subject.
There's so much to it.
What is that box right there?
So that's the RF button. So whenever Clay drops a hole or he gets out there, I can personally shut the car off. So there's an airline. Let's do the throttle pedal. This guy right here. So it sees a signal on top of.
Yep, back to the other car.
Back to the other arm right there. Son, there's a pin in there. Clay's wide open throttle.
Yep, there's where the airline goes, right there.
And if I hit that button, it sees an air signal and it pushes it, disconnects the pin, and shuts the blades.
Boom. And y'all have seen from time to time from the in-car camera of just how crazy it throws me forward, because I have no idea it's coming. But it's such a great safety device, a money saver. It is like a big giant old school walkie-talkie, but it works.
Yeah, pretty much. So Clay can't see a whole lot, right? And he can probably feel it if it's out there, right? But we can.
If it's early, I can't feel it.
If it's
It
at
just
the
feels slow.
at the head of the throttle, and if you let that thing go and you're going 1,000 feet, you blow the blower off, and really expensive. So
Yep.
we save that.
It's a money saver. We're going to move back a little further. We briefly touched on the command modules made by Electromotion. What all does this thing do besides control the clutch?
A lot. And learning it as we go on, and Dave Leahy and Chris over there at Electric Motion, you can control your fuel reg, your air reg, your boost over rev. So if this car has, we have it on our car, it's called boost over rev. If it sees a lot of boost and a lot of RPM soon, it'll shut the car off.
And it would do that because?
Because obviously if you have too much boost at a lot of RPM at a certain rate, that's what we do it off of. You're dropping holes, something's going on with the engine.
Right. Yeah, so this thing it does a lot. And over here, a lot of you car guys, this may look somewhat recognizable, just MSD grid. What's it do?
So, depending on track conditions too, Jimmo, obviously we hook up a laptop up to it, and he can shift the timing up or down, put more timing in it, take timing out. You know, we'll watch cars before we run. Oh man, this track's killer, or this track's really, really bad. We can take timing out or put timing in it.
Yeah, infinite movements there as well.
You can do infinite amount of things to that. So,
all right, now we're getting to, well, not quite me yet, but the dashboard. And yes, you people always want to know why we have it taped up, and we're still not going to tell you. Toggle through some of the pages there.
It says 0. So,
I mean, just toggle through. So just see, you can do so many different things.
The reason why it's read-in high because they're not plugged in.
Yep.
You can do EGTs. Anything that you can think of, we can pretty much monitor.
And we're still not going to tell them what we got covered up.
Nope.
But I've told y'all time and time again, it could be anything, because anything this car monitors, you can make it show up on the dash.
Pretty much. Yep. And we're going to add some things this year.
Yep.
So.
And so guess what? When we got tape on it, it may not be the same thing under there every time we have it taped up, because it's according to what Jimmo wants to see. I'm just going to leave it at that. My part of the car. My part of the car is actually very simple. This lever right here turns the fuel off and on. And to be honest with you, that is, there's the boss over there, y'all. He's on the phone. This is really and truly your cutoff switch. While we have an ignition switch and the race pack switch right here, once this thing's running and hot, you can cut the ignition switch off. It will keep running. It don't run good, but it will keep running. So shutting the fuel off is your off button. Steering wheel, pretty self-explanatory. A lot of people always ask, what is that button? That is radio communication. As loud as these things are, believe it or not, you can talk and hear on the radio. And y'all have heard that some on the helmet camera, because you can hear me talking, which obviously the other end is Jesse talking to me. This button here is new this past season. We now have an onboard fire system. That's what that's for. That is hanging out back here, onboard fire system. We don't ever want to test that out, but we have it. Brake handle, so it does not have a brake pedal, so you got a brake handle. Gas pedal, throttle pedal, clutch pedal, that's like a normal car. Over here are the parachute levers. The only thing happening there, whoop, you just push them forward, they come out. That's pretty simple. Now, he mentioned the RF on this car, which was radio frequency, and that is these BIMBA cylinders right here. So if this car is still under wide open throttle and you pass the finish line, it will automatically shut the fuel off, open the chutes. Fantastic safety device if the driver's incapacitated. That's kind of the long and the short of my area.
And that device is actually right there, RF antenna.
That little bitty thing, and
That
it
little
works,
thing.
trust me.
Yep.
You drive by and you ain't got your chutes out and you're on the throttle, they're coming out and the fuel's gonna cut off. We're gonna swap cameramen again. I think we'll move back to the other car.
Yeah.
This whole thing was really supposed to be about this brand new car, but we've changed it a little bit. We're excited to try out this new car, and we will do that the week of Gainesville for the Gator Nationals.
New pipe is always good.
New pipe is always good.
Yeah.
So we've covered here, And at some point, we'll do in-depth on these way more than what we're doing at the moment.
I could spend probably a couple days just on one piece.
Exactly. So we're going to get behind my area here. This is a good one. I get this question all the time, Jesse. Which we don't have it this way, but I get the question in the comments all the time. What are the guys pushing in that little NACA duct on the side of the car? We don't do it there, but it's the same thing.
So if we want to go to the other car, I can show you. So basically what I'm doing when Clay backs up for the burnout, and you can see, I'll give you a demonstration. A is we want to make sure that cannon's charged all the way out.
Yep. So the cannon's going back out, back into race.
What all these teams, or some of these teams out here, is basically we don't want the MSD grid to trip during the burnout. And what I'm doing is I'm resetting the grid, and that hob switch is the reset right there, and that controls the MSD grid. So if something happened at a burnout, we can reset the grid and our timing map will still work. So what happens is I charge it, that'll go red, that'll go green. Then that'll tell me the system's working. That if that was stayed red, something happened, I lost air pressure, or the MSD tripped.
Yep.
So.
Perfect. That's a question I get a lot. We just don't do it in a NACA duct on the side of the car.
Yeah, that's a lot of air switches are welded up there. That's just a preference where the switch is.
Yep. Yep.
And all they're doing is they're resetting the MSD grid. That's all they're doing.
Exactly.
And making sure the cannon's all the way out.
Yep. So we'll do this in a more detailed fashion, but I'm going to show y'all right quick. So everything on this car that you can imagine is monitored by a race pack data system. And most of these lines you see are going into these boxes right here, and each one of these monitors something different. And there's several of them on the car that you've got on here.
Oh, yeah.
On both sides. And there's just a lot of different sensors.
Yep.
So those are there, and we'll cover that. There's another one right there.
It's all what you want to monitor. So, obviously oil pressure, fuel pressure, pan pressure, EGT, timing, you name it.
Wide open throttle, brake pressure, the list is endless.
Drive shaft speed, you name it, we can monitor.
Front wheel speed.
Yeah, front wheel speed.
It just doesn't end.
Yep.
We kind of covered the fuel pump. We'll do a whole separate thing on the engine, but let's talk about the back half. When I say back half, when you hear somebody say back half, it's from here back. So that changed a few years ago too. How many runs on average do you get out of a back half?
Average, we do about 300.
What about a front half?
Front half, usually when I was at Coletto, we did every 100.
Yep. And he means 100 runs, y'all. That's what he's mean.
Now it's 059. The wall thickness is, better and stronger. We can probably go a little bit more on that. So the rule of thumb is we'll keep that as a good reliable. What's going to happen next year is we'll front half both cars at usually 150 runs, and
Yep.
Every single race what happens is, and I'm sure Clay's showed you with the body off of it, we inspect the chassis. Every single weld is inspected after every single race. It's safety.
Yep, absolutely. Again, we'll do a motor thing later. We've talked about the back half. Now, this was a hot topic. If y'all follow drag racing, people were freaking blowing rear ends up. Not us, not with, this is a Chrisman rear end, and the other manufacturers are strange, and we are not here bashing, period, but fortunately the Chrisman rear ends were not having trouble.
Yeah. It's just the manufacturer gear, problems with them.
Yep, and those gears, by the way, do not come from Strange. Again, this is zero bashing.
Yeah.
So what size ring and pinion is in this thing?
It's a 320 gear.
320 gear, and is that a 13-inch?
Yeah, 13 inch.
13-inch ring gear. And I say this pretty regularly, although y'all religiously check these things every night.
Yeah,
every
every
night.
Saturday what happens is our clutch assistant, and the clutch guy's just not the clutch guy, he's pretty much the back half guy.
Motor plate back.
Motor plate back.
This is a motor plate, by the way.
Rear wing, rear end, all that good stuff, reverser, the whole nine. So what happens is we'll take all these bolts out, we'll drain the rear end, and we'll take that pinion out. We'll inspect, if there's a crack in it, anything, and there's an inspection cover on the ring gear side.
Yep.
We'll inspect the ring gear, any crack whatsoever. I'll inspect it. You know, if it's not with my standards or Crispin, we got a spare one right there.
Yep, sitting right there.
So something happens, we'll pull it out and get ready for Sunday.
So I say this a lot when people are asking, you know, I just ask how many runs on the front half, how many on the back half. The rear end in these cars are probably, with the exception of front half and back half, by far you get more runs out of them. Anything else on the car?
Yeah,
As far as a part that's, you know, moving.
Yeah, so every 50 runs, we'll take the spindles off. We'll actually put a brand new gear on it.
Yep. 50 runs in a Top Fuel car is a lot.
It is a lot of runs, you know. Is it tire smokers? Did we run really, really good? On average, about 50 runs, we'll change it. Every 100 runs, we'll put a brand new axle in it, brand new spindles on it. Obviously, the thickness of the rotor, we'll check. Drive hubs every 50 runs. Even where the coupler goes in,
Yep.
the reverser, we'll do 50 runs on it.
And this is people may not know, but that is a single axle, one axle tube. It's a tube, actually.
Yeah, it's a free floating axle too.
Yep. So that kind of covers that. So the stop part, all carbon rotor, carbon pads, and this thing the parachutes obviously make a big difference, but you can really stop these things amazingly well with these brakes.
Oh yeah, the carbon fiber, clay is really good on the brakes. Really good.
And I always love telling this. You may not know off the top of your head, what's a set of brakes cost for this car?
Brake pads, set of rotors, you're looking at $1,750.
It's crazy.
I got to order some.
Yeah.
Actually, that one needs set. So
Yep.
when we get them brand new, they're $450. We go $350. That's what we
Thickness wise, yeah.
cut them off at.
Yep.
Just like a clutch disc. Everything has a life on these cars. You
Yep.
keep on running them, they'll eventually crack and.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for brakes.
Yep. And then the big old wing stand. Highly regulated that stuff is.
Oh,
Wing, how far back the wing is behind the car, how high it is, and y'all get pulled in the old tech every now and then for that to be checked.
Yep, so imagine a wing on it, they'll bump plow it, and from here to the bump plow, don't quote me on this, I believe it has to be 65 or 66 from the rear wing to the center of the axle.
And I can't remember how high it is either, but
Yeah.
at any rate, if we could put it back further, we would. Think about grabbing that as a lever. That's all that's going on. Just imagine you could grab that and pull back. That's more traction. That's why it's a rule on it. We'd have them 14 foot behind the car if we could.
Yeah, and the rear wing too, as we just got them back from Aerodyne, is we can change.
So this is called a spill plate, y'all. We get it flipped over the way it's supposed to be.
We can change the main element.
Yep, so let's show them. These two pieces are,
Yeah, that's the main element.
yep, main element.
Main plane and spill plate.
Yep.
So we can change more drag, less drag, you know, depending on track conditions.
No rule on that though, right?
Nope, no rule on that.
This part, it's a rule.
Yes, that is a rule.
And it is what, maximum of 3 degrees, I think?
Yeah, 3 degrees. Denver is a different story. You can do more on Denver because
Yep.
you need more downforce there.
But you can see here, all these holes, these can be adjusted. All that can be moved.
Yeah, and also what we can do is just the whole wing itself. There's a Heim joint, so now if we really want to get after it, you know, we can go 0 degrees, up 3 degrees, what
Yep.
Clay said, or -2.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. All right, y'all comment down below. Ask Jesse, don't ask me, but comment down below any questions you may have. We've just barely scratched the surface.
I can spend a month more. I'm learning as I go.
Oh, you got a lot of experience though. But y'all, that is a brand new race car. Never been down the racetrack.
You forgot the air side of the system too.
Oh, we're just getting going, dude. What's the word? Reader's Digest version of the CO2 system on the car.
Yes.
The short version. Give me that real quick.
So these cars have to have air for all the time it's worth. Air regulator right
Yep.
down there. splicing off. So it's not wired yet. So that main line, we have a little air bottle. That obviously we can't travel down the raceway.
Right, the big air bottle.
We have a little one that activates all the timers and the cannon.
Which y'all heard that when we cycled the clutch.
Yeah.
That was being done with CO2.
Yep. Safety systems, all the wire, parachutes, throttle, fuel, timers for fuel, clutch. That's what these do. Air regulators for all your fuel stuff.
Yep. Lots of DOT line and push-to-lock fittings on these cars.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, new car. It will be coming out for the Gainesville test. It should be flawless. We're going to go low 360s, and we're going to win the Gator Nationals.
And the shootout.
And the shootout.
Yep.
Boom, we're in the shootout. I forgot about that. It's going to be a shootout.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
All right, comment down below. Got questions? Ask me if it's driving related. Ask Jesse if it's car related, because I may not know the answer, but we'll try to answer those. Appreciate you guys watching, liking, subscribing, sharing. See you in the next one.